Okay. Well, then I'll call the March 6th, 2024 meeting of the Washington County Fair Board, the hybrid meeting, either in person or virtual. I'll call that to order. And it looks like we have everybody except for Jerry, and we'll wait till Jerry gets on the call in before we do the elections. But I see Bill's there, I see Bob's there, Mitch is there, Troy and Patine are all there. And I see that we also have Alan with us as well, so that's great. What we'll do is we'll put a public communications. This is the opportunity where any member of the public can talk for 2 minutes. We do 2 public communications, one at the beginning and one at the end. The 2 minutes is at the beginning, and then at the end, we do have a 5-minute talk that you can do. And again, the maximum period for this session is 10 minutes. And in the end, the maximum session will be 30 minutes. You can only speak at one public communications. Do we have anybody that would like to address the board?
We do not have anybody from the public on. And Jerry's just
Okay.
joining us, so hold on. Jerry, can you hear us?
He's muted.
Hey, Jerry, you're muted. You just have to press *6 to unmute. Jerry, can you hear us?
Well, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We
I
can hear
can
you,
definitely hear you. And I think everybody can hear you. Okay, we're going to go back to the Fair Board elections. Again, bylaws Article 4 require us to elect a president and a vice president every year. And the terms, like we said, are just for 1 year. The secretary position is held by a staff person with the Fair Board or with the convention center, Wingspan Convention Center. So I believe, is that who's in the background there, Leah? Because I haven't met her yet.
What's that? I can't hear him.
Is that the admin person that's sitting at the back of the table? Because I can't see the whole table.
Yes, yep, Bob's here.
Okay, beautiful. That's perfect then. Okay, we'll go ahead, and in January we had elected 2 people for the office of president. 2 people were nominated, 2 both accepted in there, but we had a tie, and so we carried it to March until we can get this organized. So we'll go ahead and call for the vote for president. President vote is myself, Gary Seidel, and also Troy Caballos is the other person running in there. So we would like to be able to do a vote. And what I'm going to do, since we had a lot of confusion in January, I'm going to call roll, and this is for president only. Jerry, who are you going to elect for president?
I vote for Gary.
Bill Ganger, who do you vote for president?
Vote for Gary.
Bob Rollinger, who are you voting for president?
I vote for Gary.
Mitch, who are you voting for president?
I vote for Troy.
Troy, are you going to vote, or are you just going to not cast a vote? If you are, let us know.
Troy.
You're going to vote for Troy. And Patine, I know you're new, but welcome aboard. Who would you vote for, either Gary or Troy?
Gary.
Okay, and I will also throw the vote in for myself too. So with that done, I believe we have the president will be myself for the next year. Now, Leah, we nominated Bill Ganger for vice president, I believe. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Was there any other nomination for vice president?
Or is that something you're interested in? No, not this time. Okay.
Any other names for vice president? Hearing none, we'll call the vice president ballot closed. And nomination for Bill Ganger is there as president. I will vote for Bill Ganger. Jerry, who will you vote for vice president?
Bill Ganger.
Bill, are you going to vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Bob, who do you vote for?
Vote for Bill. Necessary to vote.
Okay, Mitch, who are you voting for?
I'll vote for Phil Ganger.
Okay, Troy
Well.
and Fatin.
Bill Ganger.
Okay, I guess that closes that. So the members for this year for 2024 will be Gary Seidel as president, Bill Ganger as vice president. And that closed the election. Jerry, thanks for coming on. We appreciate that.
Well, and if I could make a comment, Gary,
Yes.
to the rest of the board. I have, last week before I departed for vacation, I went through a number of items with Leah on the current year financials as well as the budget. And she's willing to share those questions and her answers, which I thought were really good, and the board needs to hear them. So if the board has any questions about those financial issues, please reach out to Leah, and she'll certainly hook you up with that email chain. So, so that's all I got, Gary. It is 85 degrees here, and I'm struggling. Okay, I overstretched myself a little bit yesterday, so I got a little sunburn, but I think I'm gonna live. So we're good. So I'll see you guys. I know there's no compassion in anybody on this call.
No, there
So
isn't, because
anyway,
it's 52s and raining in Atlanta here. So I wish I had the weather like you. But hey, tell Judy and you guys have a good vacation.
great. Thank you very much. Thanks, board, and we'll connect up when I get back.
Okay, thanks, Jerry.
Okay, you bet. Bye.
Okay, bye. Okay, we will move on to the approval of the December 2023 and January 2024 financial report for fiscal year 23-24. Did everybody get a chance to look at that? Are there any questions?
I have a question about the last item there on the show thumbnails. You're showing that you're exceeding the expenses by 4%, which is about $31,000, and yet you still have a few more months, 6 more months to finish this fiscal year. Is there any reason for this extra expenses, and you finished only half of the fiscal year?
Which, were you asking about a specific line item?
Yeah, the last line item on the in the budget, which says the total. So the total, I'm looking on the far right side. So I'm showing that the year to date is about 875,000, while the budget was 844,000. That means you exceeded the expenses by a total of 31,000 plus, which equal to about 4% extra. And my comment to that you still have 6 more months to go for this fiscal year, and you are in red as far as expenses. So my question is, any justification for that?
Right, so I see what you're saying now. The justification is the expenses for the fair ended up higher than estimated at this time. So, and we don't have a lot of expenses that we are going to be incurring for the remainder of this year, since the fair is already happened in this fiscal year. So our expenses for next fiscal year, which is when the fair occurs, is when those will come in. So the expenses that are in the first part of this fiscal year, July through January, are the expenses that are going to be occurring under that specific category.
If that's answered, then I think we should watch that on the coming fiscal year, so that we can put more, I would say, more studied or realistic numbers for the expenses, so we do not go over from the above. Okay.
Yeah, we keep an eye on those things.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the budget? for the financial report, excuse me. Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the financials?
Make a motion, we approve the financials.
Thanks, Bob. Second?
Second.
Yeah, approve it,
Okay.
approve.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Say nay.
Nay,
We do have an opposition?
no,
Okay, okay, hearing no oppositions, then the minutes or the financial report for 23-24 for December and January are approved. Leah, proposed budget.
Yes, so
24,
just
25.
one other thing that I want to comment on in your budget materials is after the fiscal year financials, I did include the calendar year financials for the year 2023. That is something that your board and specifically Fair Board member Willie asked for a year ago, that wanted a snapshot of the financials in a calendar format. And so we finally closed out December just recently, and so we were able to provide that for you. That's something that we're going to do annually for you. That was it was actually a really interesting and look at it about what our financials look like compared to a fiscal year, compared to a calendar year, and it's pretty close, which I thought was an interesting exercise. And so that's in there just for informational purposes. It's not anything that you need to approve, but I know that this board has asked for that a couple of times in the last year.
Mhm.
So we're able to provide that for you.
Beautiful, thanks Leah for doing that. And I see that was also one of the notes that Jerry spoke about in his email to you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, well, moving right along to budget. Before we jump right into budget, I want to talk to you all a little bit about board governance. In January, we had our Fair Board meeting where you asked for a work session on the budget. And although many of you have gone through the budget process before and are really steeped in that budget process that we have, we heard from some of you that are newer that you wanted to understand the budget a little bit more. So in that work session, then we really got into the details, and really at that point, we probably got a little bit too much into the weeds. So I want to kind of bring us all back and remind everybody about their roles within governance. So I think we have some new members with us, and we haven't really talked about governance in quite a while. This was a good time for us to revisit board governance. So on the screen here, I put in a slide about the Fair Board's role. So your role is board governance, and that's where you provide oversight of the fair budget, maintain the fair strategic plan, establish policy for the fair, and award contracts for the fair. The fair manager's role, my role, is more operational, where I prepare the budget, I ensure alignment to Fair Board policy and strategic plan, and I execute the fair contracts. So that's just snapshot and a good reminder, good refresher for us to think about as we're diving into the budget and what that means looking at the budget. One other thing to note is that my role, separate from the Fair Board, is to ensure adherence to public contracting, public procurement, public budget, and adherence to county policy as well. So I have a separate role that still does apply to the fair as well. So each of us leaning into our respective roles is going to be better for us as we kind of commit to that accountability to each other, where we each are within our own roles of governance. And then we're going to roll right into budget.
I have a question here about the Fair Board role, particularly the bullet number 2, the maintain the fair's strategic plan. Yeah, I looked at the strategic plan. It's a very skinny. So I think we should work on getting it a little bit upgraded or updated, that we should include an item, something like the objectives, because just to mention the mission and vision, it would be very high level. But when it comes to the projects and other programs in the under this committee or this fair, you need more descriptive in the strategic plan. So my comment here is just to revisit the strategic plan for the board and try to beef it up a little.
He wants to do what?
Revisit the strategic plan. That's something that usually your board does every other year. And since you did it in 2023, it's on the schedule for 2025 or 2024.
Yeah.
You did it in 2022, I'm sorry.
And having, just a comment, having gone through that, there's a lot on this. I know the number of words might be small, but the action plans behind those words is rather large. So you might have a different idea once you go through the strategic plan.
Because we had a contract agency came out and ran the strategic plan for us. The gentleman had been with us before, and so he took us through every step. And what you're seeing here is just a brief one-page memo of what's going on, but there is a heck of a lot more depth to it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can bring in a facilitator like we did last, or 2 Septembers ago, September of 2022. We brought in a facilitator to walk the fair board through the updated strategic plan. And at that time, your board committed to doing that every other year. So that is on the docket for this year. Okay, moving right into budget fiscal year 24-25. So I want to revisit the budget discussion that we had in January.
Quick note on that, we talked about reviewing it every other year, right?
That is
Not
true.
revising
That's
it,
true.
Because we did a lot in that all day review.
Yes, that is,
There's a lot
Well,
behind that.
Right. Yeah,
Yes.
so I think if we review it and come to a consensus, we could probably do that even without a facilitator like that.
good to know. Thank you. Thanks for those comments. I appreciate that. So we met and went over the budget in January. And this time I'm going to give you a bit more structure of the budget and really speak really intentionally about the budget and any governance questions that you have about the budget process, and the how I'm going to frame it. So I really am looking at this budget presentation more of a big picture lens in line to our board governance role that we just talked about a minute ago. So I'm going to dive right in. And I hope you all appreciate that I tried to keep within our branded theme colors. Marketing 101. Bob, our marketing guy, likes it when I keep on brand with our themes and our colors. So I try to do my best. I'm hearing all the marketing people whispering in my ear about that kind of stuff. So I'm doing better. So we're going to start off by talking about, when we're talking about structure, the county budget calendar. So the county has a budget process, and the fair and the fair board budget is part of that county budget process. So we kicked off the budget in December 4th of 2023, and I submitted a budget to the county on February 8th per the budget calendar that complies with Oregon budget law and county budget policy. Coming up real the proposed budget will be published on, sorry, I feel like there's a lot of P's in that. The proposed budget will be published on the county website on April 18th. And then on June 18th, the Board of Commissioners will have a public hearing to adopt the fiscal year 24-25 budget. So proposed fiscal year budget, the first slide is about revenue. So we're anticipating revenue to come in at about $2,378,301. Transient lodging tax is, the allocation is determined throughout the county budget process. And for the upcoming fiscal year is estimated at just a little over $700,000. As a reminder, that amount allocated to the fair is determined by the county administrator and the county's chief financial officer. Other revenue sources, we get a little bit of from lottery funds. It's the same every year. It has been the same every year for 25 years. It's $53,166, which is comes to every fair in the entire state of Oregon. So every fair gets that $53,166. And all other revenue is generated by fees that we earn, that we collect for the fair, such as camping, vendor booths, parking fees, sponsorship fees, and commissions paid by Carnival and our key concessions.
Sorry to interrupt, Leah. Do you folks have copies? Would folks want copies of the deck, the slide deck?
I don't have copies of the slide deck, but I can print them out and send them.
Would that be helpful for folks to see that?
I can print it. I don't know that I can do it from here. Bob doesn't, I'm like, Bob doesn't have it.
This slot.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, we can pause and I can print.
no, okay, go ahead. I
Okay.
was just noticing that people were looking both places.
Yeah, that's a good point. I will make sure that we have the slide deck printed for, we actually talked about doing that and then I printed it for myself with my notes and that's it. So I apologize. I'll make sure you guys have that in the future. Okay, where was I? Oh, so, the fees are collected, you know, about the fees that we earn are generated through those things, parking, sponsorship, carnivals, and concessions. And then here is a quick snapshot, a quick breakdown of our revenue. So I like this pie chart. It's 68% of our revenue, those fees that we 8% of our fees come from those things I just talked about that we earn. Those are, you know, for every vendor booth that pays, for every commission that pays for food and beverage and camping and all those things. That's, you know, the majority of our revenue. So I thought that was an interesting view of our revenue. TLT is 30%, and then those lottery funds I talked about briefly are just 2% of our budget.
Hey, Leah, I have a question.
Yes.
Seeing that Hillsborough Hops just got a portion of the TLT, how does that impact the fair?
So it does not impact the TLT that comes into the fair or the fairgrounds. That is meshed in ordinance, county ordinance.
Okay,
So it won't change.
right on.
But that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Okay,
So
moving, yes.
the 1/9,
The 1/9 of the transient lodging tax comes into the fair and fairgrounds together. So, and then it is and then the county determines through our budgeting process how that is divided between the fairgrounds and the fair.
has it always been that way?
Yeah. All right, moving right along to expenditures. So we have 4 categories of expenditures that operate the fair and fulfill the 5 desired outcomes of the strategic plan. So I thought this was a great way to look at it and really tie it back to the strategic plan. So if you look at the strategic plan, we've got these 5 categories, and it's really easy to, you know, to look at it and go, okay, community building, which is entertainment, education, accessibility, inviting, and fun. You know, you can find in the expenditures where those things occur with entertainment, you know, is an entertainment line item. Safety and security. So I thought that was a great way to really look at our expenditures and how those tie back to our strategic plan. Our internet is unstable. We hope you can also hear us. So it all ties back to our strategic plan, which I think is really important. You know, it's important for us to have health and safety, which you can see in our expenditures, relevant programming, which you can see in our expenditures, partnerships, and administrative best practices. And then overall, our expenditures are increasing by 12% over the prior year's budget. Any questions?
PG increase, does that affect our
I'm sorry, say that again.
PG increase of 18%?
So that is all included, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a little bit of things that are trending upwards. So we all know everybody's feeling utility increases.
On the personnel expense. Personnel here,
Yes,
and that's just right across the board.
yes.
And then obviously the administration is the payroll and everything above that.
So again, great quick snapshot to look at how things break out. So if you look at our administrative costs, those you know tie back to our administrative best practices with the strategic plan. And it's 3%, but that's, you know, really part of the cost of doing business of the agency. When you really look at the two big areas, the materials and supplies and the other expenses, they're huge, but they encompass a huge body of work. With all the things that are in those categories. So, you know, safety and sanitation and parking and advertising, all those things. So I thought that was a great way to look at how it's broken down. Just the trends, why is that not usual? That unstable internet connection catching up. So expenditures trending higher. So it's no surprise. I mean, everyone in every sector is experiencing costs for goods and services, and the fair is no exception. So these are just some of those areas that are trending higher. This is just a quick snapshot. So what you just asked me something? Oh, utilities. So utilities are trending higher. We all know that PGE has raised rates, and you know, water rates are higher, and all those things are higher. So our utility increases for the budget are reflective in these trends. And I do want to just point out for professional development, that that's one that really stood out to me. We have new board members. So new board members, you know, attended training last year and will hopefully attend some training this year. We also have, and you know, Bob being one of them, and we've got lots of new staff that have not been in the fair industry before, that we're going to get into some professional development, get into some professional training. So that's going to trend higher as we have new board members and new staffing that needs to be trained as well.
I have a question, Leah.
Yes.
Yeah, you did mention that the overall expenditure increased by 12% compared to last year. But the numbers I see here, with some exceptions, they are all of them more than that 12%, except a few items. I know it depends on the capital. If you go back to the previous slide. Yeah, this one, the only ones that they are below the 12% is the professional service. Maybe this carries more weight than the others. But even with this high numbers, as far as increase in the expenditure, you still have 12% increase total?
Yes, the overall increase. So these are just individual line items that are increasing. But overall, the increase is 12%.
Okay.
All right, so remember when we started, we were talking about, you know, my goal for this was to provide you the ability to look at the structure and ask, you know, governance questions, any governance questions that you may have about the budget. So here's a couple of things that I wanted you to consider. Does this spending plan provide the county fair that meets the goals of the strategic plan and provides a great fair for the community? So those are just some things that I wanted you to think about, and you know, happy to answer any questions, because this really is the conclusion of my budget presentation today. And I really hope this kind of higher level of understanding of the budget, this higher lens as it relates to your board governance role is.
Appreciate the expansion on this. In our January meeting, I wasn't ready to vote on the budget, not knowing where any of the money's going. I appreciate having that time in February when we met, when that budget went, so.
Any other questions before we move on to the exciting topic of fee schedule? All right. So moving on to our proposed fee schedule for 2024, 2025. So these are all, and please refer to the like very specific fee schedule in your materials. So where it lists out every single thing that we charge a fee for. So that is in your budget packet. And there is only one item that I am asking for an increase, proposing an increase for. So all other things are I'm requesting, you know, I'm predicting to stay the same. Public parking, vendor parking, all those things, we're not asking for an increase. The only thing that we're asking for an increase this year is our commission that we charge to our food concessionaires. And that is really only to be in alignment with some other area vendors. So we're a little bit lower than the Oregon State Fair, the Deschutes County Fair, the Lynn County Fair. At a recent fair managers meeting, I discovered that we were a little bit lower and some others were a little bit higher. And we all kind of agreed collectively that being at the same rate is really better for the industry, better for our fairs, because then the food vendors are paying the same at every fair that they go to. So that is the reason that I'm requesting that 2% increase in our commission.
The commission.
Tia, do you need a vote on this?
Yes, please.
Okay.
The commission is based on gross.
Yes, it's so, food vendors right now, they 27, is that right? 27% of their total gross sales. And we do audit their sales. We have an audit program where, we audit their sales throughout the day and every day. And then at the end, they give us 27% of the gross.
They're concerned that you'll lose some of the,
No, we have a really great relationship with our food vendors, and this is something that we've talked to every single one of them about, and they didn't have any concerns.
just know that all of their expenses have already increased.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's really
I do
the,
like it that there's no change for exhibitors for our livestock and 4-H as well as FFA. So that's nice to see that that's staying the same and not going up.
well, and that extra 2% also will help us capture some of those extra utility fees. The biggest users of power on the fairgrounds are the food vendors. So the bump in their commission to cover some utility costs.
What is the current rate?
The current rate's 25%.
25%, yes, we were 27. 5%.
Any other discussion? Okay, then can I get a motion to approve the 24-25 Washington County Fair fee schedule?
Make a motion that we accept it.
Can I get a second?
Potian,
Okay. All in favor, denote by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say nay. Hearing no nays, fee schedule is approved. Lee. All right, we'll move into 4-H. Alan, nice to see you.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you as well. Thanks for having me. I have a few updates to share. And can you hear me okay? I know my situation was
Yep, we can hear you great.
excellent. So I recently met with our fair superintendents and we are on track for our plans. One exciting thing that came out of that meeting was really empowering youth to be some junior superintendents and taking more leadership. And from that meeting and that idea of junior superintendents being a bigger help, Deanna and I met with Leah and talked about putting them to work on facilitating a youth-driven biosecurity training. We do want to make sure that they do we do a kind of a train the trainer situation where they are kind of coached a little bit before we meet for our annual biosecurity meetup. But that is something I really feel very positive about because it is empowering our youth to take ownership and to also get a lot of the younger kids who are joining our program to look up to those older kids and realize, oh, they know what they're talking about. This is what I need to do to be safe, or encourage others to be safe, to make sure my animal's healthy. And the idea is to have a keynote speaker, kind of do a little launch, and then do breakout sessions where there's different animal species. So you've got the KV kids in one corner, you've got the beef kids in another corner, and the junior superintendents are leading the discussions or the activities, and then we have adults roaming around supporting that, rather than it just being a 2-hour session. We're all sitting down in our seats listening to speakers, because unfortunately the information is good, but the delivery to kids is not always received when we have that delivery model. So super excited about that opportunity. Any questions on that? That will be in June sometime. We were shooting for our first Wednesday, but our keynote speaker that Leah was trying to help us nail down, he's not available on that date. It was going to be we were approaching Ryan, the state vet, and we'll be figuring something out to do in June for that event. Deanna's hard at work on enrolling all of our 4-H members, getting fair book changes up to date. We provided Leah a preliminary amount of numbers, as well as a preliminary schedule that we're working through. And just know that we are going to need to be creative with our space that we have, because we will be having some more beef kids. We'll be having some more turkeys, because kids realize, oh, I can raise a turkey in my backyard. So we're going to be being more creative on our use of space and how to make all the animals fit. And that's priority number one. And then it's TAC and all of that type of stuff. We want to make sure that we have the showcasing all set to go. And then the last thing that I've been working on internally with 4-H, our MOU with the fair board and the county is going to be up, and it's going to be after fair. And there's a lot of items that I've been getting feedback on that people want to be spelled out, and things that have already been happening or things that just need to be clarified more. And I just sent that to Leah this week. So it's just fresh on her desk. And her and I believe, are going to set up a time to talk through that some more. But again, these are items that will not be happening until 2025 or possibly even later, just because there's a lot of feedback that I've been receiving, and want to make sure that we're clear on all the things it takes to make fair happen as a partnership between 4-H and Washington County Fair. Other than that, those are the main items I have to share tonight. Any questions for me?
Can we see a copy of that?
Of the contract?
Yeah, what the MOU he's talking about?
Absolutely, yeah.
Love to have that.
Yeah. Leah, what's the best way? Do you want me to just send it out? I think I have most everyone's emails except for Fatine here.
I'll send out the existing one. So we're not going to send out the draft because that's still very much in draft format, but we
Right.
can send out the existing one that's been in place for the last 3 years.
Yep. And that's the one we're on right now. Like, it's not going to be changing for this fair. We are already locked and loaded for this fair. We don't, and I'm actually excited, looking forward to this fair. I think every year there's just this knowledge of like, oh, we did that. Okay, that worked. Okay. And there's also this attitude with the superintendents that I've really enjoyed when I met with them, that there is this attitude towards, okay, here's an actionable item. Let's try this to improve. And the incremental changes is what we're doing right now, which I'm really excited to see.
Sounds good, Alan.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Just want to make a comment. We had a beef weigh-in last month, and we have 33 steers with 3 backups. That's an increase of about 15% over last year. And this is a good trend. So I just want to comment.
I agree. It's really exciting that people are noticing this program and want their kids involved. All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on.
There is a slide. There we go.
CAO update.
We've got Danny in the room.
Hi there. I just have two sort of major areas of update. The first is the county commissioners will be kind of reviewing and hopefully adopting on March 19th their updated strategic plan. And so in that strategic plan update, each department, including Westside Commons, which the fair is a major part of, has outlined a you know, a sort of organizational goal. That's a snapshot of like the work that's being done. But over the course of the next 4 to 5 months, people will be sort of taking everyone's strategic plan. Each individual department will be taking those strategic plans and starting to put that out into a work plan that beginning in July, we will be kind of creating a dashboard of all of the different measures there. And so as I listen to the updates and to all of you, I think that there's going to be a lot of exciting ways that the work of the fair and the fair board are going to be highlighted on this, like more to come. And if you're at all interested in the entire strategic plan update, we can send a link out to us so that you can see what that looks like. The other big thing that's going on is budget. So as you know, at the last sort of meeting in February, the budgets were due from individual departments into the central office on February 8th. And from those budgets, we had every department leader present their budget. And I'm not just saying this because in the room, Leah did one of the more spectacular budget presentations. I think that people really just had so much like respect and admiration for how well she described like the state of expenses. And so what's important for fair board members is that as we go into this is my first process in Washington County where they're going to lock us in a room is what they said, and they joke about it. But I think it'll be harmless. But at the end of next week, we'll be making those like final decisions. And so what I think is important to you is, you know, as we talk about like governance and the role of the county and the role of the fair board, that moment of sort of like the county administrator deciding what is the split between the fair board, fairgrounds and the fair operations. The strategy going into the budget for next year was to ask, and what we asked is for Leah to tell us what are the expenses. So let's not necessarily talk about a split that was done, you know, historically, because that may not be sufficient moving forward. And so I think Leah did a really good job of sort of talking about like really people had a lot of information, and it was clear that Leah's deep experience and knowledge about the operating of the fair was compelling. So after I get unlocked out of the room, we'll be just wanted to highlight that the proposed budget will be published on the 18th. We're kind of pencils down and putting it into the system by April 3rd. So unfortunately, your joint fair board and BCC Board of County Commissioners meeting is just right before the budget is going to be published. So I don't think we'll have a lot of detail to tell you about that, but I just want you all to know that we are sort of looking at that, like what are and you know, let's not let an arbitrary split happen. Like let's actually look based on like sort of what the needs are. And so I think you know, we've heard about the cost escalations, which I think are pretty good. I think our commissioner Willie has also said that he's heard about like wanting to make sure that, you know, the momentum and the excitement is continuing, especially with young people. And so I think there's a lot of support, and with Leah's really good presentation, I think, you know, there's a path there. So unfortunately the budget committee meetings aren't published yet, so I don't have those exact dates for you, but we'll get those to you as soon as they're published. And so that's when, you know, everyone will be able to tell the county commissioners, you know, sort of what they think about that. And so we'll make sure that you know about that. And then we're hoping to, you know, have the final adoption where the county commissioners adopt the budget in mid-June. So lots of budget all the time. And so if you have any questions or like, sort of like, the breakout room advice, let me know and I'll, happy to answer them.
More money.
More money? Okay.
I think that's everybody's answer.
Everybody's probably.
I know. I think one of the things that like it's because you saw the budget, the revenue side. Even though it may not feel like it, we are upside down with general fund, right? There's like a statewide issue with the fact that like, especially as, with inflation. Increased costs are going like this, but we're limited in terms of tax revenue, right? So our general fund departments were asked to submit, 5% cuts, 3% cuts, and just staying flat. So, and so while there is more volatility with like the TLT fund, it is, it's not necessarily the same dire straits as our general fund folks. So, so unfortunately, we're not giving a lot of money down to a lot of folks. So, but I think there's some stability there, and that
Sure.
I think especially the second look and the sort of like wanting to understand the budget and the expenses, I think has been really helpful in understanding what the true expenses are.
We talked to one of the vendors, one of the favorite, the turkey legs in San Diego. They go to the San Diego Fair. They're $38 a turkey leg down there.
Ours were
I
expensive.
thought ours were expensive, yeah.
Wow. It's a gourmet leg.
Might be more.
Okay, we'll move on to public communications number 2. This is the opportunity if anybody member of the audience would like to talk. You have up to 5 minutes per individual. Maximum time for this communication period is 30 minutes. And nobody's spoken the first, so is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak and address the board?
We do not have anybody in the audience.
Wow, no communications. Okay. I know we've got the April 12th, 2024 meeting with the Board of Commissioners. Leah, I know we have quite a few new members in there. Could you publish the address for conference room 120D?
You put that on the calendar, please.
What is it again?
It's April 12th at 10:30. I sent you all a meeting invite, and I can send it again, and I will ensure that the address is on there.
At what time?
Or anybody that doesn't know it yet.
10:30,
remember now.
10:30 to noon.
I probably have it buried in there. I might have already put it on my calendar, I'm just not to April yet.
Okay, then the next Fair Board meeting will be also a hybrid meeting. It'll be on May 1st, 4:30 to 6 p.m. Same room you're in now, or same computer that you're on. And that'll be the next meeting. And then Leah also published in the very last page of your agenda. If you look at that, it's got all the other Fair Board meetings that will continue on for the rest of this year. Is there any other items of discussion or anything anybody wants to address at this time?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, motion is made to adjourn and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Yes. I'll see you.
Anybody want to stay? You'll be alone on Zoom, or you'll be alone in that room. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.